annexing 35.7 acres on Sparta Highway. It's the Memorial Baptist Church. Mr. Rutherford?
This request come in November. They have they currently are connected to city sewer and pay outside city rates. Planning Commission, of course, if they're annexed in, they'll pay inside city rates. Planning Commission has met and recommended approval of the proposed plan of services, and you gentlemen have passed this on the first reading. This is the second reading.
Very well, I make a motion that the city of Crossville pass on second reading an ordinance annexing 35.7 acres on the Sparta Highway for the Memorial Baptist Church. Is there a second?
I second.
There's been a motion made and seconded. The floor is now open for discussion.
I have several questions. Sally, how many requests did we get for this annexation? One or two?
For this particular one, just one.
One. Did Mr. Mundy deliver that annex to you?
I honestly do not remember, it was so long ago. I honestly don't remember whether he gave it to me or it came in the mail or if someone else gave it. I don't remember.
Did you type it up?
Yes, sir.
You typed it up?
Yes, sir.
So, did Mr. Mundy come and sign it? I'm confused. If you typed it up, how this got there?
I gave it to Councilman Marlowe as well as several other ones.
Councilman Marlowe. Councilman Marlowe, why were you interfacing with the church to pick up the request?
I recommend to the church, as I recommended to anyone that has access to be in the city limits. I think it's an honor and a privilege to be in the city limits. What you pay out in taxes and what you receive in services. I also recommended to my mother that she be annexed. She is very close to this property, and this will save the church some money as far as they have a playground area there. They would like to have the presence of the city police. It'll save them some, possibly on insurance, having the fire protection. They will not receive the garbage pickup, possibly some additional lighting. I don't know if the lighting will help them that much, but they have some lighting of their own, but it will save them some money as far as water rates and sewer rates. And to be honest with you, I would recommend anyone that can be in the city, and not only the Baptist Church, but it's a recommendation I'll make to anyone that can possibly be included into the city, because like I say, I'm a member, or I'm a citizen of the city, and I do consider it an honor and privilege and a very good value.
Did they tell you that that was the reason? Or is that the sales approach that you used towards the Baptist church?
It's their decision. I mean, it wasn't just the pastor made the decision.
I also asked the pastor to be here today, and I see he's not here. Because I had some serious questions. Did you make an offer? Or did anybody on this council make an offer to buy any of that land?
The way I understand it, that land was donated to the church and is to be used for church use only. I mean, they have playgrounds, they have walking trails, they have almost 36 acres, I believe, there. And I don't see any of this being developed because of the way that it was donated. I don't think that it can be sold or developed, or, and I mean, as far as any personal interest, I have no personal interest in it, except for the fact that these are friends and neighbors of mine, and I'd like to see them have the best deal they can. And the church will be paying taxes on part of that property. Now, they're exempt on their building and some property around it, but
This is done at taxpayer expense to some degree. If we're gonna put in lighting, which is gonna be ineffective because I've walked the ground because that bluff will stop flooding unless you go all the way down to the far side where it's a swamp. And the trees are so thick, the lighting won't take any effect. The police protection, 2/3 of the time in the morning when I drive out there, there's police cars in their lot already. The fire protection, you know, all of a sudden that they want this, you know, the whole thing is, it just doesn't jive. And the fact that you acted as a median to take the request to them, have them sign it and bring it back, I think is inappropriate.
I did
for a
not bring it
councilman.
back.
Okay, mail it. I think that's inappropriate.
Well, I disagree with you. In fact, we have, Mr. Dave Burgess here. We looked at this at the planning commission, and what's been the policy in the past, Mr. Burgess, if someone wants to be annexed into the city, that we normally call them into the city council meetings and ask them, or give them the third degree on why they want to be in the city, or we take the request. It's been my understanding, if someone wants to be in the city limits and be annexed, we do it. If they don't want to be annexed, we don't do it.
That's pretty much the precedent that's been set.
Now, how long have you been on the planning commission?
I don't remember,
Several years, though.
back in the late '80s, I think.
Okay, and,
When this was initially briefed, it was said that there was no donut holes, but there is donut holes with the annexation of this church. There's 2 pieces of property that will become county islands.
my understanding is the city limits has been across the street from them for maybe 20 years or something like that.
Right away is in the city limits. It wasn't practical for the city officers to patrol that highway and it be in the county.
You have 2 islands that will be produced by taking this annexation.
I'm sorry?
You have 2 islands that will be produced. They'll be in the county by taking this piece of property.
I don't know which islands you're talking about.
Mr. Turner's, okay, property, and the lady next to Mrs. Turner on the corner, whose name escapes me today. There will be 2 islands. Now, it's been my policy not to vote for any property, any annexation that creates islands. Didn't the state have guidelines towards creating islands? Didn't they discourage it?
Well, there's no regulations as far as preventing us from creating them. It's up to them.
Obviously not. We've got, 30 or 40 of them or more in the city now. I've talked to the maintenance people. It creates a nightmare for them. So
At the same time, it provides needed services to the residents that requested the annexation.
what needed services are here? They have water and sewer.
That's
They
right.
already have water and sewer. What's the needed services?
In this case, they already have it. That's true.
They'll have a better price on those services.
And fire and police protection.
And fire and police protection, which
How far is the county fire department from that church? I just about guarantee it's closer than any of our city fire halls are. It sits right off the Livingston Road.
I'm beating a dead horse, so I'm gonna stop my comments.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Further comments? Roll call vote.
Councilman Souza,
No.
Councilman Wyatt,
Aye.
Councilman Marlowe,
Aye.
Councilman Curley,
No,
Mayor Graham.
Motion carries. Item number G tonight is the ordinance annexing the Northwest Connector, Section 1. Mr. Rutherford.
Okay, again, as discussed in our work session, the city and TDOT have made agreements on this particular road for portions that are currently outside the city limits. We have been working with TML to get some clarification on annexation of this because of the annexation moratorium imposed by the General Assembly. We still haven't received any information. We put this on for you to consider, since there's 3 readings required, you could move forward with the first reading if you chose to do so. I will bring to your attention that if you move forward with the annexation, Mr. Sousa is probably going to address to you another creation of islands that you will have road. You have a map in your packet.
Mr. Rutherford, are you familiar with the agreement that the city of Crossville has with TDOT in regard to that, the conditions of, and the arrangements that we have to have that road built?
Yes, sir, I have read that agreement. You have that in your packet as well.
Were there any conditions in regard to future maintenance of that section?
Yes, there was. We would be maintaining, any of the safety issues that would arise, certain, uses along the, right-of-way. The big safety issues is, I think everyone who's driven on that has already realized that there is a tendency to go faster than the posted speed limit. That, probably, is not gonna be a good thing. The city, has to work with, maintaining all the utilities. I have already gotten, not a cost, but an estimate of if, because I know the question is gonna be coming, what about putting lights out there? And as I've explained to those of you who've asked, the state has certain, standards, lighting standards for, state routes. You don't have to light a state route, but if you do, you have to meet certain requirements. And that particular, stretch of road will require the installation of some 45, street lights at 250 feet apart.
Do we have to do all of it at once?
When you start lighting the state roads, you have to light it to the standards that they want.
Can we, I happen to notice driving in on the Sparta Highway, you know, going up there, how we have more lighting in some areas and less lighting in other areas. Is that different? Is that a different requirement, since that's a state highway?
If a city lights a state highway, then they have to meet to certain standards. I've had familiarity with taking lights down on the state highway because we would not allow the city that I work for to reduce the lighting. It was, you can reduce it by taking them all down. You can't take them, you can't separate them, thin them out.
Would you please clarify the question that you've asked MTAS regarding the annexation question that has been reviewed by the state legislature?
We have asked TML, their legal expert on annexations, if we could move forward with this because of the particular moratorium is that you can't annex anything by ordinance, meaning you couldn't create that. You have to annex by ordinance. That's the only way you can do it. But since it's a state route and the partnership and the agreement with the city when the road was constructed, we wanted to make sure that we could move forward and annex that and not have any issues from the state of Tennessee.
I think that's wise.
Did the state of Tennessee come to the city of Crossville for plans of this road, or did the city of Crossville go to the state of Tennessee on this section of this road?
Regarding the original agreement in 2005?
Regarding the origination of this whole road, highway that's constructed.
In 2005 and before, this mayor went to the TDOT commissioner at the time, Mr. Nicely, and discussed the fact that the planning commission had this in their plan for a number of years, and we would like to see what kind of a partnership we could make with the state. So yes, the city took this to the state of Tennessee.
So how much money this costs the city taxpayers to develop that road in the county? And that's including engineering and land easements.
I guess we've got $1.5 million in it.
That's just in land easements. How much was engineering?
I couldn't tell you.
I think that's pretty close. I've got a file on it. I think that's pretty close. About $1.5 million. I think the mayor's about so far.
That's engineering and right-of-ways and damages, is it not, Mr. Sousa?
I believe that.
And I believe the construction cost was, I believe it was $4.5 million.
That's the state covered that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I move that we adopt an ordinance annexing the Northwest Connector, Section 1. Is there a second? There's been a motion made and seconded. The floor is now open for further discussions, comments, questions, or concerns.
There's a lady that would.
Yes, ma'am. Would you step forward and speak into the microphone?
Okay, if the area I live in has waited 50 years to be developed and bypassed and bypassed and bypassed, is my area going to be fixed properly before all this other is spent?
Well, this money that we're talking about right now has already been spent on the Northwest Connector, Section 1.
So there's no more tax money to go to it, to fix it?
No,
Unless we put lights there, yes, ma'am. If a decision is made to put lights on that area, yes, ma'am.
that your road could be fixed if it was a will of 3 people sitting on this council.
Well, I'd like for my property, my roads to be fixed before the lights are put up.
Yes, ma'am, so noted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further comments, questions, or concerns?
I have some.
Yes, sir.
As the city manager indicated, we have massive amounts of islands and, you know, we keep going down corridors and spreading out. We have the same amount of people, the same amount of resources. We don't want to raise taxes. And people will argue that it's great. But, and few of the city managers like Joe would ever say we can't do it because he's got a can-do attitude, and so does most of the other city managers. But the stress grows and grows as we continue to adopt more and more property. It's a simple logistics principle. You don't increase the load without increasing the assets to support it. No, we're not doing it. We just keep gobbling up land. And what's driving that is developers. That's the truth. Is the developers. Now, does that mean that they're evil? No. No, that does not mean. Does it mean that people should not make profits? No. But I have an issue with profits being made at taxpayers' expenses. It's my opinion that before that land becomes annexed, that an agreement be made to help pay for those utilities going in there, and it's not gonna happen. It's gonna be forced through here. There's nothing I can do about it. It'll be a 2-3 vote. I know that. What happens after the first year, whether anybody decides that something else should be done, or de-annexation, or any other thing possibly could occur, could be open to question. But at this point, I will not support the annexation of the Northwest Connector on 2 bases. On the basis that it creates islands, and as far as I'm concerned, that's mismanagement from the city, and on the basis that the developers, and that land is gonna be developed, those roads and accesses in there are there for a reason. And so that the developers don't absorb the costs of those utilities going in. Mr.
Burgess,
Burgess?
you have a comment?
Yes, and looking at the planning map that shows the annexation, the 2 parcels that you're referring to, Councilman, is not going to be an island through this annexation.
We can't hear you.
Dave, I can't hear you. You're gonna have to speak right into that cotton picker.
I'm sorry. The parcels that Mr. Sousa has referred to are still going to be bounded by the county on their west side. They're not going to be an island. The annexation will not create those islands that you're referring to.
If that road is in the city, then an island exists, does it not?
If the entire road's in the city, yes.
Well, if we annex this,
But we're not annexing the entire road
we're not
with the Memorial Baptist Church annexation request.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the Northwest Connector. Okay, the Northwest Connector's gonna make that road annexed.
That's true, from Highway 70 all the way over to Highway 70.
And if we put utilities down that line, then that road would have been annexed to put a utility. And if both sides, if that church is annexed on both sides, the road going through the center would have been annexed. So it would have been annexed. They own both sides of the road.
That portion of the road would, yes.
We need a clarification, Mr. Burgess.
I've lost, there's no point in, it's a dead issue.
Mr. Burgess, when we discuss utilities, clearly the planning commission, plan of services recommends that the developer puts in the water and the sewer lines. Is that not correct?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Those are, what other utilities are you speaking of, Mr. Sousa?
They're gonna put it in going down the road or to theirs.
Well,
In other words, let's be specific. George is gonna develop his land at some point, okay? There's going to probably be strip malls down through there, okay? Now, whoever gets those first, is that person gonna pay for those utilities going in there?
Mr. Burgess, would you please answer him that the developer is required by the planning commission and the city council that the developer puts in the water and sewer?
That's a part of the cost of doing business for developers.
Now you see how the chess games play, because when the memorial church is annexed, the city's putting the utilities in for the memorial church. They're going up the road to the memorial church. Bingo, it's right there at Mayor Marlowe's, or Councilman Marlowe's property.
It's no different than any other church that has requested that service.
I understand that.
The city is not putting in the utilities for the Memorial Baptist Church.
Could I ask a question, Mike?
They're already in.
They're
Utilities
already
are already in.
they're already being serviced, Mr. Sousa.
Can I ask a question, then?
Yes, sir.
Since there's a moratorium on it, we don't know if it'll ever get lifted on annexation.
Right.
Is it possible to annex anything without creating a void? Because in this theory, right now, we would violate state law if we went to these people between Memorial Baptist and the Gardens and requested these people to annex into the city. We'd be violating state law, right?
That's right.
So, all we can do is take who comes to us one at a time.
That's right.
And make that decision.
One parcel or one developer.
Right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burgess. We have a motion and a second to annex the Northwest Connector, Section 1. Further comments, questions, or concerns?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Doing some research regarding votes pertaining to the Northwest Connector, Mayor, and it seems before me and Councilman Sousa got elected, you were abstaining in votes concerning this road. I'd like to know what's changed where you're not abstaining anymore, like you were in the past,
I felt like there was no conflict.
but you did before.
No, I stated.
Because you never stated what your conflict of interest was when you abstained.
Well, I don't remember, actually.
It wasn't in the minutes.
I don't remember, we've had so many votes. I remember one time, that the city of Crossville was negotiating with my cousin, Bill, in regard to, that subdivision over there, and I not only abstained, but I left the room.
Just a question.
So, that's already water under the bridge as far as that's concerned. Further comments? Being none, roll call vote.
Councilman Sousa,
No.
Councilman Wyatt,
Right.
Councilman Marlowe,
For the record, I'd like to state that I do own property on the Northwest Connector, but it's not being annexed, and I vote aye.
Councilman Curley,
No.
Mayor Grant.
The motion carries. Item number 7 tonight is the city attorney's report.